We are talking impeachment.
Yeah,
A sitting deputy president in the hot seat.
absolutely.
We've got your stack of documents right here,
Yeah.
including this notice of motion against Kenyan Deputy President Rigathi Gachagua,
Right.
along with a whole lot of supporting material.
Mm-hmm.
Where do we even begin?
Well, it's quite the political thriller you've handed us.
Really is.
What's fascinating here is this isn't just a political attack.
Okay.
It's a carefully constructed legal case,
Okay.
meticulously citing the Kenyan constitution to build its argument for Gachagua's removal.
So no pressure on us to untangle this, right?
Right.
For those of us who haven't brushed up on our Kenyan constitutional law lately,
Yeah.
what's the headline here?
Sure.
What's the core accusation?
At its heart, the motion argues that Gachagua has abused his power
Right.
and violated these fundamental values of the Kenyan constitution.
Mm-hmm.
They're not holding back, calling his actions a ticking time bomb that could throw the country into chaos.
A ticking time bomb.
A ticking time bomb.
Okay, now I'm hooked.
Yeah,
This motion must have some serious firepower behind it.
it does.
Who's behind this move to remove Gachagua?
So the motion was filed by a member of parliament
Okay.
named Mutuse Eckomas Mweni,
Okay,
representing the Kibwezi West constituency.
gotcha.
And it's official. It was tabled before the Kenyan National Assembly on October 1st, 2024.
Oh.
This isn't some backroom deal. It's happening right out in the open.
Wow, so this is breaking news in the world of Kenyan politics.
Yeah.
They're literally trying to remove the second most powerful person in the government.
Absolutely.
What are the specific charges they're leveling against him?
So they've essentially thrown the book at him
Okay.
with 4 major allegations. Gross violation of the Constitution,
Mhm.
undermining government decisions, abuse of power,
Yeah.
and the one that always seems to grab the headlines, financial impropriety and corruption.
Sounds like a greatest hits of political scandals.
Yeah, it's all in there.
Let's start with the first one, gross violation of the Constitution.
Oh,
That sounds pretty serious.
it is.
Yeah.
The motion starts by laying out these ideals that are enshrined in the Kenyan Constitution's preamble.
Right.
Things like ethnic and religious diversity, peace, unity, the rule of law. And then they hammer home the point that these values are binding for all state officers,
Right.
from the president all the way down to the deputy president.
Yeah.
Nobody gets a free pass.
So they're setting the stage by reminding everyone what Kenya stands for.
Mm-hmm.
And then, bam, they hit Gachagua with how he's allegedly trashed those values.
Exactly.
Yeah.
They point to specific articles in the Constitution
Okay.
that emphasize leadership integrity,
Okay.
prohibiting discrimination based on ethnicity, origin, or belief.
Right.
And then they get really specific,
Right.
bringing up public statements where Gachagua allegedly makes comments that directly contradict these principles.
Like what? Give us the juicy details.
Well, in one instance, he's quoted comparing the government to a company. He allegedly said that jobs and development projects would be allocated based on how communities voted,
Wow.
essentially implying that only those who supported his party would reap the benefits of government.
Wow. That's not exactly the picture of unity and equality the Constitution paints.
You know, it's not a good look.
It's like he's saying, to the victors go the spoils.
Right.
You can see why that would rub people the wrong way.
And that's precisely the point the motion emphasizes.
Okay.
It argues that this type of rhetoric incites division
Right.
and goes against the very fabric of an inclusive Kenyan society.
Yeah.
This company analogy, as you put it, is a stark contrast to the Constitution's vision.
Right.
It suggests a transactional view of governance
Yeah.
that could undermine public trust and even lead to instability.
So they're painting a picture of a leader who's not just going against the spirit of the law,
Right.
but potentially putting the whole country at risk with this kind of talk.
Exactly.
That's heavy stuff.
Yeah.
What's next on the list of accusations?
Next, they dive into how Gachagua has allegedly been undermining official government decisions.
Okay.
One specific incident they highlight involves a cabinet decision made on April 30th, 2024,
Okay.
about evacuating people residing along the Nairobi River.
Okay, so what happened there?
Well, the cabinet, recognizing the dangers of flooding and wanting to improve public safety,
Right.
approved a resolution to relocate these residents.
Right.
Seemed like a pretty clear-cut decision.
Right.
But then Gachagua enters the picture.
Oh, I think I know where this is going.
Yeah,
He wasn't a fan of the plan.
not even a little bit.
Okay.
He publicly opposed the evacuation,
Wow.
directly contradicting a decision made by the cabinet.
Wow.
And according to the motion, this wasn't an isolated incident.
Oh, really?
They allege that Gachagua has made a habit of publicly disagreeing with the president
Oh, no.
on critical matters, causing confusion,
Wow.
and potentially weakening the government's authority.
So it's not just about the Nairobi River situation, but a pattern of behavior
It's a pattern.
where he's going rogue,
Yeah.
potentially creating chaos and making the government look disorganized and ineffective.
It doesn't inspire a lot of confidence.
It sounds like this impeachment motion is really building a case for Gachagua being unfit for office.
That's exactly the narrative they're constructing.
Wow.
They're portraying him as someone who disregards established procedures and acts on his own accord.
Yeah. Even when it means going against the president and the cabinet,
Right.
this not only raises questions about his judgment,
Right.
but also undermines public trust in the entire government.
Okay, so that's 2 major strikes against Gachagua so far.
2 down, 2 to go.
What's the next allegation?
All right.
This is getting juicy.
Hold on to your hats because the next one delves into abuse of power,
Okay.
and it gets very specific.
Okay.
The motion accuses Gachagua of interfering with the Nairobi City County government, overstepping his bounds and basically acting like he's running the show at the local level.
It's like he skipped ahead a few chapters in the How to Be Deputy President handbook.
Right.
What makes them say he's sticking his nose where it doesn't belong?
They point to a public rally he held in Nairobi
Okay.
on September 20th, 2024.
Where he allegedly riled up citizens against the city government's plans to relocate certain markets.
So he's not just disagreeing with the cabinet, he's potentially inciting public dissent against local authorities.
Yeah, stirring the pot at the local level.
That's a bold move, even for someone in his position.
It's a risky move.
What was the reaction to that?
Oh, the governor of Nairobi, a man named Johnson, did not hold back.
Okay.
He issued a scathing response,
What did you say?
accusing Gachagua of exploiting a past tragedy involving traitors for political gain
Oh, no.
and stoking tribal disunity with his rhetoric.
Oh, wow.
He even suggested that if Gachagua cared so much about the traitors,
Yeah.
they could set up shop outside his own office.
Ouch. That's got to sting.
Yeah, he basically called Gachagua out for using divisive tactics and urged him to focus on real solutions instead of stirring the pot.
Oh?
He even alluded to the impeachment motion,
Really?
reminding Gachagua that he had more important things to worry about than meddling in local politics.
Talk about an awkward office party.
Right.
This whole situation just keeps getting more and more fascinating.
It's about to get even juicier.
But we're only on allegation number 3, right?
That's right.
What's the final blow they're dealing in this impeachment saga?
Yes, the grand finale.
Right.
They're hitting him where it hurts,
Okay.
alleging financial impropriety and corruption.
Yeah.
And let me tell you, they really go for it.
Okay.
Painting a picture of a man using his position to amass a fortune through shady dealings.
Okay. Before we get lost in the weeds of financial documents,
Yeah.
remind us, what are they accusing him of exactly?
Sure.
I imagine it's a little more complicated than just spending too much on his government expense account.
Oh, absolutely.
Yeah.
The motion claims that since taking office,
All right.
Gachagua has somehow managed to accumulate a massive property portfolio,
Okay.
estimated to be worth a staggering 5.2 billion Kenyan shillings.
Wow.
And they don't just throw out that number.
Okay.
They provide a detailed breakdown,
Okay.
listing companies, properties, even specific land holdings,
Whoa, wow.
all allegedly tied to Gachagua and his inner circle.
That's quite the real estate mogul we're talking about.
Right.
Do they provide any evidence to back up these claims?
Yeah.
Or is it just a lot of speculation and finger pointing?
They came prepared.
Oh,
We're
okay.
talking company records showing ownership details,
Ah.
images of lavish hotels and resorts, even bank documents related to a questionable 3.7 billion shilling deal for mosquito nets.
Mosquito nets.
Mosquito nets.
Wait, back up.
Yeah.
How do mosquito nets factor into a story about luxury properties and unexplained wealth?
That's the million-dollar question, isn't it?
Right.
It all circles back to this tender,
Okay.
a contract issued by the Kenya Medical Supplies Authority.
Right.
KEMSA, for short.
KEMSA got it.
Their job is to procure medical supplies.
Right.
And in this case, it was a massive order for mosquito nets.
Okay.
The motion alleges that Gachagua and his associates used their influence to rig the bidding process
Oh.
in favor of a specific company,
Okay.
potentially for a hefty kickback.
So we're talking about good old-fashioned corruption,
A classic.
using your political power to line your own pocket,
Right.
even if it means potentially jeopardizing public health in the process.
Exactly.
That's a new
Yeah.
level of low, even for a political scandal.
Right. And the documents you sent include communication records,
Oh, wait.
including WhatsApp messages,
Really?
that seem to show Gachagua's son, Ikinu,
Okay.
directly involved in trying to retrieve a key document
Yeah.
related to the investigation into this mosquito net tender.
Oh, wow.
They even have receipts signed by an alleged associate of Gachagua's
Okay.
who collected the document from KEMSA.
It sounds like they've got receipts for their receipts.
Right.
But it's not just the money trail they're following, is it?
No.
They're also making a case that Gachagua's actions were intended to obstruct the investigation itself.
Exactly.
Wow.
And that's where this affidavit from Mutuse Eckomas, the MP who filed the motion, comes into play.
Right.
He claims that he was pressured,
Okay.
even intimidated,
Wow.
by Gachagua and his son into handing over this document.
Hold on. So an elected official is claiming he was threatened by the deputy president to cover up alleged corruption.
That's what he's saying.
This just keeps getting wilder.
It does.
What does this tell us about the bigger picture here?
It suggests that this isn't just about one man's alleged greed or ambition.
Okay.
It speaks to a potential abuse of power that could have far-reaching consequences.
Right.
If those in power can manipulate the system for their own benefit
Yeah.
and silence those who try to hold them accountable,
Right.
it erodes public trust and undermines the very foundations of democracy.
It's like a domino effect.
Yeah.
One questionable decision leads to another, then another. And before you know it, the whole system is at risk.
Precisely.
Yeah.
And that's why this impeachment motion is so significant.
Okay.
Even if it doesn't ultimately lead to Gachagua's removal,
Right.
it shines a light on these alleged abuses of power
Right.
and forces a national conversation about accountability and transparency.
Okay, we've covered a lot of ground here, from incendiary speeches
Yeah.
to questionable financial dealings to potential obstruction of justice.
It's a lot.
It's a lot to process.
It is.
But before we move on,
Yeah.
there was one more accusation in the motion that I wanted to circle back to,
Okay.
the alleged attack on the judiciary.
Right.
Tell us about that.
That's another layer of this story that's quite concerning.
Okay.
The motion claims that Gachagua publicly attacked a high court judge, Lady Justice Esther Mena,
Okay.
after she ruled against him in a corruption case back in 2023.
Wait, remind us, what was that case about?
So that case involved allegations of money laundering,
Okay.
and Justice Mena ultimately ordered Gachagua to forfeit a hefty sum,
Yeah.
200 million shillings,
Wow.
which she determined were proceeds of illegal activities.
Okay, so he wasn't too happy about that outcome.
Right.
What did he do? I can't imagine a sitting deputy president taking too kindly to that kind of public rebuke.
Well, you're right. He didn't just disagree with the ruling.
Okay.
He went after the judge herself,
What?
publicly accusing her of bias
Oh, no.
and threatening to file a petition for her removal.
So not only is he allegedly involved in these shady dealings, but he's also trying to discredit and intimidate the very people who are supposed to uphold the law.
Exactly.
That's a whole other level of audacity.
It really is.
Wow.
And that's why this particular allegation is so alarming.
Yeah.
It strikes at the heart of Kenya's democracy.
Right.
A fair and independent judiciary is essential for a functioning democracy.
Right.
And any attempt to pressure or intimidate judges is a direct attack on the rule of law.
It's like he's sending a message. Don't mess with me, even if you're a judge.
Exactly.
And that kind of attitude can have a chilling effect on anyone who might consider challenging him or his allies in the future.
It creates a climate of fear and self-censorship
Right.
where people are afraid to speak out against those in power.
Right.
And that's a dangerous path for any democracy to go down.
So we've got a potential constitutional crisis brewing in Kenya.
We might.
Allegations of corruption, abuse of power, undermining government institutions,
Yeah.
and inciting public dissent.
Right.
And at the center of it all is Deputy President Rigathi Gachagua. It's like something out of a political thriller.
Right.
Except this is real life with real consequences for Gachagua and for Kenya.
Huge consequences.
Knowing all this, what happens next?
Okay.
What does this impeachment motion actually mean in a practical sense?
Well, think of it like the opening act of a play.
Okay.
The motion has been filed,
Right.
laying out the accusations.
Right.
Now the real drama unfolds.
Okay.
It's up to the Kenyan parliament to decide if they're going to move forward with a full-blown impeachment trial.
So what are the odds of this actually happening?
That's the big question.
Is Gachagua about to be packing his bags and looking for a new job?
It's way too early to say. Remember, the This is just the beginning
Right.
of a potentially lengthy and complex political process.
Okay.
First, the National Assembly will debate the motion
Right.
if they vote in favor of it.
Okay.
Then it moves to a trial in the Senate.
And I'm guessing this isn't like a regular court case, right?
Not even close.
This is going to be a huge political showdown.
Absolutely.
Right.
This is where things get really interesting.
Yeah.
You'll have political alliances, power plays,
Right.
maybe even some backroom deals happening behind the scenes.
Oh, yeah.
The outcome will depend not only on the strength of the evidence presented,
Mm-hmm.
but also on the political calculations of the senators
Yeah.
who ultimately hold Gachagua's fate in their hands.
So it's not just about what Gachagua did or didn't do,
Right?
but how this all plays out in the arena of Kenyan politics.
It's all about the politics.
It's a high-stakes game with the future of the country hanging in the balance.
The stakes don't get much higher than this.
That's true.
And regardless of the outcome,
Yeah.
this case has exposed some potential cracks
Yeah.
in the foundation of Kenyan democracy.
Mm-hmm.
It raises crucial questions about the abuse of power,
Right.
the erosion of trust in institutions,
Right.
and the fragility of the rule of law.
It feels like we're witnessing a defining moment for Kenya.
It does, doesn't it?
This case could either be a wake-up call,
Yeah,
prompting a much-needed course correction,
right.
or it could further deepen divisions and undermine faith in the government.
I think you've hit the nail on the head. This entire saga,
Yeah.
from those inflammatory speeches to the alleged financial misconduct to the attack on the judiciary,
Right.
it all speaks to a larger struggle over the soul of Kenya.
Wow.
Will it be a country where the rule of law prevails,
Right.
where institutions are respected and where leaders are held accountable,
Mhm.
or will it succumb to corruption,
Yeah.
impunity, and the erosion of democratic values?
Those are some heavy questions, and unfortunately, we don't have all the answers.
We don't.
But what we do have is this incredible set of documents,
Right.
a front row seat to a political drama
Yeah.
that's still unfolding.
Absolutely.
This deep dive has been eye-opening, to say the least.
It certainly has,
Yeah.
and it's a stark reminder
Go for it.
that democracy is not a spectator sport.
Right.
It requires vigilance.
Active participation
Right.
and a willingness to hold those in power accountable,
Yeah.
no matter how high their office
Right.
or how powerful they may seem.
Well said. To our listeners out there, we've given you a glimpse behind the curtain
We tried.
of this unfolding drama in Kenyan politics.
It's a fascinating one.
It is.
It is.
Now it's your turn to keep digging,
Keep learning.
keep asking questions, and stay engaged.
That's right.
The future of Kenya might just depend on it.
The future of democracy might depend on it.
Well said. Thanks for joining me on this deep dive.